Hey guys, I'm here with Michael from Caveman. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. Good to finally be here with you guys and be able to talk about this stuff because I'm really excited to share this with everyone and glad that we have a platform to be able to do that.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about Caveman as a company? How did you get started, and where do you see the company? No, we'll get there later. Let's start with how you started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so it started actually with my partner Frank. He had a Mini 14, it had a pencil barrel, and he was sighting it in, and as the barrel would warm up, his point of impact would shift, and then he would adjust, and then it would cool down, and it would shift again, and he would adjust. And the problem ended up being the Mini 14, but the idea of how do I know when my barrel is too hot, or what does that even mean, that came to him on the toilet, and that kind of sparked into what we have today, the idea of understanding the role that temperatures play in firearms and how we can glean that information live during our shooting experiences. Kind of the snowball effect of that original toilet thought.
And it's a great thought to have regardless of location because you're gonna get heat. No matter what you do, it's going to be there. It's laws of physics. So why not harness that power and use it to get some information?
That's exactly the point that we kind of thought of. Every trigger pull that has ever happened has generated heat in some sort, and every industry that deals with heat has found some way to harness that, has, put it to use in some aspect. And the firearms market has been a little bit behind the curve in that regard, at least as far as accessibility is concerned, because we have infrared, we have some pretty high-end products that do deal with heat, or we make heat protective devices. But we wanted to focus on heat detection and kind of democratize that and get it in people's hands in a way that is simple, cheap, and in a way that can also be fun too.
Specifically, we're talking about smoke, right? Can you explain a little bit more about what smoke is and how it works?
Sure. Smoke is our latest product offering that we're rolling out with right now, and it is a Cerakote-based product that has a lot of the same lineage as all of our other products, and that is they change color specifically at about 130, it's specifically 131 Fahrenheit, but that's not as fun. So 130 degrees, they change color to indicate when a surface is no longer safe to handle or store. With firearms, it's really simple because if you get above 130 Fahrenheit, especially when dealing with metal, because different materials give off heat differently, but specifically with metal product, when you get over 130, you enter a realm where if you touch something that hot, you'll burn yourself faster than your hands can tell your brain that you're touching something too hot. But if you get too far below that, you enter a space where you're not getting good information. This could be 120 degrees, be totally fine to handle, but we didn't want our products indicating when something isn't safe anymore, when it actually is. So 130 degrees is that sweet spot of high enough to give you good information, below enough to give you safe. And with smoke, we found that we can implement that idea in super unique ways that have never been done before. We're kind of showing people how they can let their imaginations run wild with design and get really interesting aesthetics, but getting a function that has never been, seen on the market before. And hopefully it'll kind of change the way they think about heat in their shooting experience.
So from a practical standpoint, as an end user, as a shooter, what are some different applications I can use this for, and how will that data help me?
So we have a suppressor here, which is one of many examples we can use, but a suppressor, they get hot, right?
Very much so.
Exceptionally hot. I mean, that's what a suppressor is doing, right? It's taking sound energy and turning it into heat. And the more you do that, the more heat you're generating, right? Because energy's got to go somewhere. So a suppressor, obviously we know if you're shooting a lot, don't just reach down and touch something that's probably hot. But the question begs, well, how hot is it? Is it too hot? Too hot to put back in your range bag? Or maybe you're swapping one suppressor between multiple different rifles, or if you're shooting on a pistol, you just reach down and tighten it one more time, you know, not thinking, it's just like an automatic response. So all of our product just gives you that clear indicator to say, hey, this has reached the point that with your bare hands, or if you're storing it, just handle with care. And you know, you can't fix stupid, but this helps.
It does help. I mean, one of the things that I've always been concerned with is just putting it back in the bag. You know, is this going to melt my gun bag? Is this going to be melted to the suppressor? You know, I'd like to avoid that.
Yeah, and that's a great case that we actually make a lot, because we sell a number of products. Smoke is our most recent, but we have sold retail products with our flare silicone rings that are a toolless option. We also have crush washers and flat washers that can be mounted on your barrel. We like to say they're cheaper than a new bag or a trip to the hospital, right?
It's very true.
And so you slap it on there, and it just gives you, without a shadow of a doubt, understanding, hey, this has reached that point. Because, like I said, we know when stuff gets hot, but the one piece we've never had a for sure way of telling is when it's cool again. This resting color, that actually is the most important color. So even sitting here doing nothing, it's giving you important and valuable data, saying, hey, I can handle this, I can throw up my bag, I don't have to do one of these, or people say they spit on it, and it's like, I don't know what that tells you.
It's like making pancakes, right? Once the water sizzles, then you know it's ready.
It tells you it sizzles, but it doesn't tell you any of these other useful things.
Yeah.
And so that's the data point that we're trying to get people used to understanding and showing how it can just make their shooting experience that much easier.
Let's say I have a suppressor, I want this technology. How do I get that on my suppressor?
So right now we are partnering with Cerakote shops that want to be able to apply smoke and offer this to their customers. So we have a premier partner, Cross Rifles, out of Bryan, Ohio, and you can ship product to them. They're up and running, ready to go. And through our website, we're building an applicator search portal. And anybody that is certified to apply smoke to a customer's project, their name will be on that locator search. You can contact them, you can work with them on a project, and they'll get you going.
So it's almost like finding a match on Practice Score, except it actually works.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yep.
That is fantastic.
And you know, part of who we are working with, we're working with people who have proven to do good work. We're not just picking backroom people out of the garage, unless they're incredible at what they do, you know? So these are people that are reaching out to us. A lot of them, their customers are coming in and talking to them. They're reaching out to us, and those are the people that we want to work with, those who have a name of doing good work, Cerakote in the industry, because Cerakote, if anyone has ever tried, is tough.
Yeah.
If you got to have the right gear, the right training, a lot of practice to really do it properly, and so those are the people that we're working with.
So if someone is not a certified applicator and they'd like to be, how do they become one?
Reach out to me. We'll go over the program. It's very simple. Because we are working with people who already know how to spray, we're not asking that you go through any intense training program. You don't have to fly anywhere. We have a licensing contract that we work through, and then once that licensing contract and you're certified to come on board, you go through a simple training process. It takes like an hour, if that.
All right.
And then once you're done, you get your product and you're up and spraying.
We got the can off the gun. Why don't you show us what this stuff does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I brought my handy dandy blowtorch, never leave home without it. Now, a lot of the cans that we have on our social media are flat, where it's just black and then they reveal the pattern underneath, but I commissioned one to be a little bit more fun on this guy. So you're out at the range, you're shooting, and you experience a little bit of heat. And when you do that, the venom disappears, and it turns into Spider-Man.
Very cool.
This also tells me, careful when handling it. And the crazy thing is, it's super accurate. This part is totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and not touch the middle part.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's a really cool example of just some of the creativity you can get with this stuff.
Will this get me any closer to meeting Zendaya?
You know, I'm not gonna say no, but it's a non-zero chance, but close to zero.
All right, cool, I'll take those odds.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
You mentioned that 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Is there any other options as far as temperatures that you want to see that change at?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are dealing with kind of an engineering grade chemical, so they deal with Celsius. And so we have 5 degrees Celsius increments for the most part that we can deal with. And we've seen up to about 75 Celsius for reversible thermochromics. So that reversible portion is very important. There are thermochromics that trip and then they never turn back, but we obviously want it to go back to our resting color so we know when it's safe. We went with 55 Celsius, which is at 130, but we can tune that And as we are growing this market, we're finding the different nuances that would demand a different temperature. You know, maybe there is a precision rifle that the groups open up closer to 122 Fahrenheit. In that case, a 50 Celsius option is about there, and so that would be a good fit. Or if you just want something to change color when you grab the magazine changes color, that's about 28 Celsius or 88 Fahrenheit. I think I have my numbers right. So we can absolutely customize that, but our 130 Fahrenheit is kind of our flagship functional one for now.
So basically anything between mood ring and don't burn yourself with your suppressor, you can handle.
Yeah, basically, and we're actually even looking to, this is kind of a sneak peek, talked to somebody at Suppress Fest, and they suggested doing a cold temperature transition, and so we're looking at doing, perhaps you have a Arctic camo at freezing temperatures, but then once it gets above freezing, it goes back to black.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of just, like I said, crazy ways that we can implement this, and we're exploring all of them.
Is there a way to integrate something like this into fabric?
Yeah, so they do that already. It's funny, when we post stuff, people be like, isn't this like a hypercolor t-shirt from the 90s or 80s or whatever? So absolutely, fabric dyes are a thing. I got an ad for guitar straps that were thermochromic.
Oh.
So thermochromics have been in the market forever. When you're a kid, you get the spoon out of the cereal box, back when cereal actually came with real
Cool
toys.
stuff.
Yeah, that would change color when you put it in the cereal. It's all thermochromics. What we've done is found that thermochromics were the best option to implement this idea of putting heat to work in firearms. And so the technology itself isn't anything new, but the way it's being implemented to be useful, that's really the component that we're bringing. And it, you know, temperature can be measured in a number of ways. You have thermochromics, we can do it digitally, we can do it infrared, a million different ways, but thermochromics are really fun.
What's the most ridiculous application that you could put this on?
I've been told stuff or suggested things that are probably not safe for work. But I have some on my cast iron skillet handle.
Oh,
And
okay,
so
that's a great idea.
I actually made a little dropper bottle, and it's like a one-time use because it's a part A and B catalyst, but then once I mix it up, I just made all these drops on the cast iron skillet handle, and as it heats up, you can actually see it change, and you know the exact moment that you got to be careful grabbing the handle.
Very cool.
So-
That's awesome for someone like me because I'm a big wimp when it comes to heat. My wife makes fun of me all the time. I'll just go and touch a pot. It'll be barely hot, but just feeling the heat, I'm like, and I start making noises,
Yeah.
and she's laughing at me in the other
My
room.
wife doesn't have fingertips, I'm pretty sure, because they built up a tolerance. I don't know how, and I don't care
I don't
to find
either.
out.
Yeah, I don't really want to know. Oh, you know, you could do it on toilet seat too, so that you
Someone
know.
actually did that. So
Oh,
on
okay.
YouTube, we found a video of someone who did their entire bathroom in thermochromics.
Okay.
And it's about what you would expect.
Oh.
Whatever you're imagining, yeah, it's probably that.
Disgusting.
Yep.
Disgusting.
So we had a YHM Fat Cat, which they have the anus
Yep.
out at the end. And so Cross Rifles coded it for us, and it just also said chode, just written. Yeah. And so, yeah, you can get pretty creative.
Cool. Thank you for coming and explaining. This is a very interesting and very practical product. A lot of times we see things that are cool, and they're just cool for no reason, but this gives you usable data, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
Thanks, yeah, we're excited to show people, obviously, how to put heat to work, but then I'm excited to see all the designs that come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential. I already have my gears turning. I'm sure you can smell the wood burning. But thank you so much, Michael.
Awesome, thanks.